You want Philly?
Yeah, let's do it.
Philly special. Ready? Here we go. Easy. Kill. Fight.
But that was a taste of what he was supposed to be.
Last year hurts.
Oh, and how this will all work out. Well, I wouldn't be surprised to see the first play if they don't try to give the football to Terrell Owens. This way. Fires it his way. Inside the 20. And on the first play of Philadelphia with an Eagle uniform.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Trending for Four Quarters right here on DSM Media. It's Wednesday night, 9 p.m. as always. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, make sure you're sharing it out, liking, following along. If you're on YouTube, hit that, smash that subscribe button, thumbs up. We're doing the Fantasy Football Super Show tonight. We're not talking strictly Eagles or Sixers or Phillies, any of that stuff. It's fantasy football season. I've got two of the best in the business that really know what they're talking about. So bring your fantasy football questions. We got a list of an agenda to talk about, but if you got questions for your upcoming draft, just hit us up in the comment section. I'll interrupt. I'll stop the conversation, and we'll get right to it. So we got two guys. We got Sam Wagman, the swag man, and we got Luke Sawhook here. So I'm going to let you guys shout yourself out. You both are so busy and got so many different things you're working with. I'm just going to let you guys, pump up who you're working with, when your shows are, where your content is. Luke, you can go first. Give out all your information of where you're at.
Sure. So, my stuff is mostly on my Twitter. It's just at Luke Sawhook. If you go over there, you see all my content. I just tweet a lot mostly. And then I write articles for Fansided, Steelers website called Steel Curtain, Fantasy Pros News Desk. I also do a little bit of stuff for Team Rise or Fall for their redraft fantasy football content over there. I have my own podcast, which is called Hooked on Fantasy. It's me and my boy Kosh. We hold it down, it's every Tuesday and Thursday, bringing you some redraft and some Dynasty here and there. And then I also run social media for Dynasty Nerds, FTN Network, and Prediction Strike. So definitely have
since
a,
you said
a
you
lot
don't
on my
do
plate
much,
these days, so
that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but I always got room for more,
All right, swag man, give them hit up everybody with what you're doing and where you're working right now.
Yeah, Sam Wagman. You guys can find me at Swagman95 on Twitter. Doing stuff, a lot of things over at Ball Blast Football. I have my own show with my boy Bo McBigtime. We're doing a waiver show every Tuesday at 9:00 once the season starts. And then you guys can also find some of my written stuff over at Football Guys. Some stuff here and there for 4th and John, doing some Eagles stuff, where me and my boy Phil, we got that friendship from.
Yeah, that's where we got hooked up from.
Absolutely. But fantasy is really the thing for me these days. And thank you for having me on here.
All right. So before we get any questions in here and before we get into the agenda, I put out a tweet, and it was a very interesting topic and a discussion a couple days ago. And I know I broke the law of the tweet because we did our fantasy draft last Sunday for the DSM Media crew. It was just when you have a 12-man league, it's tough sometimes to schedule. But am I right in saying you have to wait till at least 7 to 10 days before the season starts to do your fantasy drafts? I see people doing their drafts in mid-August, early August. It's ridiculous if these people do these drafts that early. There's not enough information to do that draft, right?
I agree on something like in the fantasy community, we've been drafting since February. I mean, doing dynasty drafts and stuff like that. But like as far as best ball and redraft goes, I definitely say you want to wait until at least training camp starts. If not, like into like preseason, like maybe the first week of preseason, just so you know who the starters are and who the backups are. You don't want to be caught unaware with a guy there. So, I feel that, but I mean, I don't think you can ever draft. You can draft right up until the season starts. You can draft in the summer. People who victory lap injuries and before the season starts by saying, this is why we wait until the day before the league starts to draft. I don't understand that because injuries can happen at any time. So
True.
There's both sides to it.
Yeah,
Are you
so
in,
for me,
yeah, you in agreement there?
kind of like what Sam said is, yeah, I mean, for me, I think I would prefer wait until training camp starts just because I get a general feel. But I'm still plugged in. I mean, I feel like I have a good read on where the roster stands early on. I mean, the injuries are a concern, but I mean, by the time that July rolls around, I'm usually pretty locked in to how things are going to look as far as depth charts, I would say. But yeah, I mean, I would prefer to wait until about preseason week like 1 or 2 to draft.
My man Jason Voorhees is checking in. He says he loves both your guys' stuff. He says he's in your fantasy league there, Sam. So, he says he loves both you guys. Jason's a great guy. He's an up-and-comer in the fantasy world, too. He knows his fantasy stuff really well as well.
Jason.
So,
shout out, Jason.
Jason's
all right.
Dude.
So, I mean, Adam's checking right in. I was going to get into the topics, but all right, so we're going to talk quarterback rankings, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. So we'll answer Adam's question, what's the best position to go after in the first couple rounds of the draft? I mean, I've always been pre-programmed to always go running back, first 3 picks in basic leagues. But as leagues evolve and as players evolve and football evolves, I don't think that's as set in stone as it used to be. Well, I'm an older guy, unlike you babies. I've been doing fantasy football for 15, 20 years now, so that it's changed a lot. So, Luke, I mean, thoughts on how you rank positions, in the first couple rounds?
So I feel like it changes every year. I mean, obviously, most seasons, running back first round is pretty much locked and loaded for like the top 5 picks or so. But this year, I think especially is running back early. I don't think I have taken a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds in any of my drafts so far this season. I'm going running back, or tight ends, running back, or running back, tight end, running back, some kind of formation of running backs and tight ends in the first 3 rounds. If I can't get Kittle, Waller, or Kelsey, I'm going triple running back sometimes. If I do, I'd be going running back, tight ends, or whatever kind of variation on that. But running back value this year in the first couple rounds is huge compared to where it drops off late. I think you need to lock up at a minimum your first running backs through the first 4 rounds for my taste.
Okay, gotcha. Swagman?
I agree with Luke to a point. I definitely think you should come out of your first 4 rounds with at least 2 running backs. But there's definitely spots in the first round where you don't have to go running back. Anywhere from 6 on, I'm fine with taking Kelsey. I've done it. I did it in multiple of my home leagues. Sure. Kelsey is the only tight end that would be even close to taking in the first round. He's the only person in this draft that if I had the first pick and I have the choice of either Christian McCaffrey or Travis Kelsey, it's a legitimate discussion.
Really?
Because Kelsey is such a cheat code. Hold on. Kelsey is such a cheat code at a position of scarcity, and you get such an advantage if you have that first pick that you could feasibly get a running back that you still love at the 2-3 turn and still take Kelsey, and you'd be so far ahead of your league. Obviously, I don't recommend it.
Sam,
it's an opportunity.
Here's my argument against that is because let's say you take Travis Kelsey at the 101 for some reason. I feel like the production and running back fall off from Christian McCaffrey, the running back 101, to the running back you would get at the 212 is huge, where you can get a tight end and Darren Waller or George Kittle who will be close enough to Travis Kelsey and still give you the same positional advantage, where you can start off with a guy like McCaffrey. It's not really close to me at the 101. I think it starts to come in conversation once like the main 5 or 6 running backs fall off the board.
I agree. I agree. It's a bold strategy for sure. It's not.
I've never heard anybody say that.
I did watch people. Even in my division in the Scott Fish Bowl, someone took Travis Kelsey at the 101 because it's such a positional advantage.
Scott Fish Bowl is different.
That's
Yeah.
true.
It's a tight end.
It's
premium.
tiered, yeah, and it's also a tiered PPR league. But I will say that the only players besides Travis Kelce and all the running backs you should be taking in the first round is Devontae Adams and maybe Stephon Diggs. Those are the only two other players that should make it into your
I don't
first round.
mind Taylor
Otherwise,
either.
that's true. He's the true upside guy there.
So Scotty chiming in with the zero running back strategy as a little bit. I know I saw Luke laughing there. Scotty was in Florida scuba diving during our fantasy draft. So he set his league on auto draft. He drafted 9 wide receivers in a row. I'm not joking. He literally had 9 wide receivers on his roster.
Thank God that's not the one he sent me earlier tonight.
It was really bad. All right, we're gonna get into tight ends in a few minutes because I do have a really big tight end question for you guys. But let's just talk quarterbacks. Let's just go position by position. Sam, quarterbacks. Obviously, there's the top guys, the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allens, the Aaron Rodgers, those guys.
Forgetting my boy Kyler Murray in there too.
So Kyler Murray again,
QB1,
also,
baby.
Top guy. So how many of those guys in the quarterback class there? If a 10 or 12 man league, maybe 14, 15 quarterbacks are drafted. How many of the quarterbacks in the NFL would you consider in that elite category for fantasy football purposes?
Well, it's 5 and it's maybe 6. It's Mahomes, it's Kyler, it's Josh Allen, it's Dak Prescott, it's Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really think that he takes a jump this year, it's Justin Herbert. But otherwise, I really don't think there's anyone else that can make it in there.
Man, Jason chiming in with
I think
Kyler
you can argue
Murray
for Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
there's an argument for Russell Wilson, but his running keeps declining year after year after year to a point that he doesn't want to run as much as he gets a little bit older. And I'm concerned about the offense. Even though he just makes it up there, by pure circumstance every single year.
Right. Luke, are you on the same board with where the elite quarterbacks, where the drop off falls, or?
Yeah, it drops off after Lamar. It's the same 5 guys. I mean, it's Mahomes, Dak, Kyler, Allen, and who did I miss?
Lamar.
Josh Allen.
Lamar.
Lamar. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's the same 5 guys. It's the same 5 guys.
So,
after that, it falls off.
So, Luke, you guys are both in agreement that Dak is, and it's funny. George must have like some kind of mental telepathy with me because he's putting a comment up there that is basically what the question I was going to ask. Dak and the huge gamble. You guys are both confident that Dak is still in that top tier, even though he coming off a bad injury. He's got the shoulder issue, on all that stuff. And I'm not trying to, as an Eagles fan, I'm not trying to bash Dak. I'm a huge Dak Prescott fan. I wanted the Eagles to draft him years ago when he came out of the college. I love his game. But when I was building my draft board for our DSM league, Dak Prescott was in that question mark. I wouldn't have put him in my top 4 or 5 just because there is still technically an unknown there this year.
I don't think you can predict unknowns. I think when you're just strictly ranking fantasy guys, I think you have to go and act as if everybody is available. You can't predict injuries. They're not sticky yet.
Agreed.
Saquon.
Yeah, agreed. It's 100% Saquon at 6.
Which
it just totally contradicts my question about coming back from an injury on Dak Prescott.
Right. I'm ranking with the pure everybody is healthy because at the beginning of the season everybody's usually healthy. So I truly don't think there's anything wrong with Dak. I think his shoulder is going to be fine. They've told us his shoulder is going to be fine. If he's healthy, he could lead the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns.
This is the closing segment, Jake. Just so you know, we are going to bring up the DSM league and have these experts grade some of these teams.
So
Luke,
for Dak, I actually like him a lot. He was my QB3 for a long time this offseason.
Okay.
The injury bumped him down to QB4 for me, just one notch. Just because, I mean, it's a small blemish, but I still love him. I mean, last season he was on pace for ridiculous averages.
It's like 6,000 yards, dude.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
We've seen him do it. CeeDee Lamb's going to have a monster season. I think if everyone stays healthy in that offense, there's no way he finishes outside the top 8.
Yeah, and
that's what I love about him.
defense is still horribly atrocious. As Eagles fans, that's not even biased. Dan Quinn might be like the worst defensive coordinator in the NFL.
Dude, it's not even his fault. Honestly, they have no talent on that defense.
That's
Michael
also
Parsons
true.
actually looks really good. If you've been
He
watching
does.
Hard Knocks too, another reason I'm so confident in Dak is dude, everyone's cool as a cucumber about Dak on Hard Knocks.
Mhm.
Like everyone's just like he's just chilling, man. Like he's fine. He doesn't seem concerned at all. Like he's just like, okay, I'm ready to go. They just have him on a pitch count, and I do like the way they handled the injury of contacting the Texas Rangers and those other organizations, getting a look at his arm, and all those injury concerns were pretty mild. It was more just like, okay, you just need to watch how much you're overworking him in practice and stuff, and it'll heal. And I think he'll be just fine.
Are there any sleeper quarterbacks? So obviously we know who the elite are, but you guys have been in plenty of fantasy football drafts. You don't always get one of the top 5 or 6 guys. If you got to pull somebody, even outside the top 8, is there a guy that everybody's sleeping on in this quarterback class that I'm not going to say could win you your league, but could at least put you at an advantage? You know, I'm looking at, because I look at it from a betting aspect too. Like I love the odds on Baker Mayfield and Ryan Tannehill for MVP wins just because of the teams around them. You know, is there
Baker
a sleeper?
Mayfield? Gross.
At 35
As a Steelers fan, he's a Steelers fan. He's a Steelers fan.
See,
No, that's
when I
literally
talk
not even. I
fantasy,
love Joe Burrow.
When I talk fantasy and betting, I take my Eagles love out of the equation. You're a Steelers fan. You should be doing a show with JD from DSM Media. He's a Steelers fan. He's from Pittsburgh.
No,
and he's part of our team.
No bias here for the Steelers at all. I just don't like Baker Mayfield straight up. I mean, I love Joe Burrow. Huge Joe Burrow fan.
Joe Burrow fan, okay.
To bump off that, Jason. Sorry.
Go
Love
ahead. Ryan
Tannehill. He's one of my favorites.
I do too.
He was like 28 to 1 on
It's-
MVP odds, and I
Tannehill
thought that was a
is
sneaky bet.
Sorry, not QB6, my QB8. Love Ryan Tannehill. Him and Jalen Hurd are my 2 favorites.
Jalen Hurd.
Love him.
We're going to get into the Eagles. Don't worry. This is an Eagles network and an Eagles show. We will talk Eagles for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
Swag,
love
man.
Jalen
And
Hurd.
the funniest thing that people are seeming to forget, and you know this rings a little bit bigger if you're in a 6-point passing touchdown league rather than the standard 4, is Tom Brady is being drafted outside the top 10 quarterbacks.
Okay.
Tom Brady could probably throw for 5,000 yards this year, 40 touchdowns.
He's my QB6, Sam.
I mean, there's literally no reason why this guy should be outside your top 8 quarterbacks. He's my QB7, so
okay.
I love Tom Brady this year. I mean,
love Brady
until he falls off, you just have to keep drafting him because he's just going to be that good.
So Tom Brady is in the same category as LeBron James to me. You can't bet. You couldn't bet against the Lakers losing in the playoffs till they actually lost in the playoffs, because LeBron never lost in the playoffs outside when he was hurt. You know, he obviously lost this year, so I ate my words. But the same thing, falls with Tom Brady.
I mean, he was hurt still. I'm also a Lakers fan.
He was still hurt, and the team around him was hurt too. So that's another whole conversation there. But he was playing, so there's that. But Tom Brady's the same way. You can't bet against Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, until he's not the greatest quarterback of all time anymore. So absolutely. And I love that. I was lucky. I got an elite running back, elite quarterback, and some pretty damn good wide receivers. The first 4 or 5 rounds of my draft fell perfectly to me. So, we'll get into that later. So the same question with quarterbacks into running backs. I'm sure we can all agree that the Christian McCaffreys, Dalvin Cooks, Derrick Henrys, Kamaras, they're the top 4 guys, right?
People will disagree with you on Henry because he's basically being drafted at his ceiling. Well, in a PPR league, he's really a bad bet at RB4 because he literally rushed for 2,000 yards and 17 touchdowns last year and wasn't the RB1. That's an issue in PPR
Dude, I
leagues.
do not
DSM
care.
league is a PPR league.
Like, I do not care.
I know.
He's still my RB4. He's safe. He's as safe as it comes, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and
he's
he's
pretty
my
normal
five.
for the most part. He doesn't get injured very often. He doesn't miss really games or anything.
And that's the paradox. It's very weird because even though the risk remains that you're drafting him at a ceiling, who else are you going to put in there at RB4 instead of Derrick Henry? So at the end of the day, you really have no choice but to rank him inside your top 5, which I still have, even though I've said that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people discuss, who else would you take at 4 there? You have no choice. I've seen the discussion, and I mean, you brought it already up in the taking Travis Kelce number one. I kind of feel like people have the same thing at number one. If they get stuck with the number one pick, you pretty much have no choice but to take Christian McCaffrey,
Right?
Especially in a PPR league because he's clearly the best running back fantasy-wise in football.
Yep.
For sure.
So what outside those top four guys, maybe give me 2 or 3 of the guys in that 5 through 10 range, Luke, that are, I don't want to say steals, but definitely really, really, really great running backs that you shouldn't be disappointed in getting if you got a later first-round pick.
So for me, my guy, I'll just pound one and I'll let Sam take the rest because he's a smart man. I trust him. Well, we'll see. But not seriously, not a biased Steelers take here at all. But I am in love with Najee this year for fantasy.
Okay.
He's my RB8. I think he's just going to get fed the rock an insane amount because I didn't understand it coming out last year. Every single year, I feel like everyone always wanted an elite running back to Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh's a locked and loaded 3-down bell cow fantasy location. But this year with Najee went there, I still saw people like saying that Javonte was like the RB1. I was confused because he had the highest draft capital and landed in like arguably like the best landing spot. I see so many people concerned about the offensive line play. Listen, I get it, okay? But let me explain it to you. Last year, the Steelers' offensive line was basically a retirement home. They are so old and so beaten up with injuries that they couldn't run block. Like they just like didn't get off the line. They were just like so unexplosive. They were still elite in pass blocking.
Just
but
outside.
The run blocking was literally dead last. Dead last in run blocking. So
George, he's saying that Najee is 5 through 8 as in the running back room. Just looking at running backs overall, I believe.
Right outside for me.
Wait, what was it? He's my RB8. He's my RB8.
He's
Okay.
asking whether you think he's 5 through 8 overall in drafts or 5 through 8 in the running back class.
Oh, sorry. He's 8th in running back for me, but I mean, if you took him at 8 in a draft, I wouldn't be upset about it. I think you can wait. I think you can wait. I'm not taking him in the first. I'm trying to. My favorite place to draft right now is like the 10 to 11 to 12 range because you can get guys like like an Austin Eckler and a Najee at the turn, or like Aaron Jones and Najee at the turn, and that's 2 like easy top 10 running backs for me. So I love Najee this year because I think he's the perfect blend of. I mean, he's going to be on the field damn near every snap. He's going to get all the receiving work. He's a very good receiving back too, and he's going to get all the goal line work. Like there's no questions. Like it's Najee versus the world at this point, really. So. I mean, the only thing that's going to slow him down is injury or offensive line play being absolutely god-awful. And I really don't think we can get much worse than last year. So I feel like he'll be all right.
And the best part about Najee is you don't have to take him in the first round. You can comfortably take him in the second round.
Pick.
Absolutely.
Yep. My guy.
Yeah, swag. Yeah, that 5 through 8 to 10 range there.
Right. As much as I want to talk about Antonio Gibson, I see Jason just blowing up. I see Jason just blowing up the chat about Antonio Gibson.
I'm a huge Gibson fan.
One of my favorite guys as well. But who I really want to talk about is Joe Mixon. And this is as good a year as any. Everyone who's been hurt by Joe Mixon, who feels personally victimized by Joe Mixon, you may be entitled to financial compensation. I myself am a victim of Joe Mixon love in years past, but this is the year for Mixon because Giovanni Bernard is gone. Samaje Perine and Chris Evans are not serious receiving threats. The offensive line is still going to be bad, so Burrow's still going to be running for his life and trying to dump off when he needs to. So there is a legitimate chance that Mixon can rush 275 times and have 50 catches this year. His receiving workload last year before he got injured kept going up in every single week. I believe his targets increased every single week before he got injured and went on injured reserve. So I truly think that Mixon is going to go off this year. All he has to do is do the one thing that's kind of avoided him the last couple of years and stay healthy. So that Bengals team is going to rely on him a ton.
All right, so George is bringing up something how he traded for Gibson, and I'm going to bring it up real quick here. Hold on 1 second. I got the DSM League up on another page here. He's a huge fan of Antonio Gibson. I personally think that it wasn't a good draft. It's a good way to transition to wide receivers. Where is it? League Homes. I'm trying to figure out where the transactions are here on ESPN here. Give me a second. We're going live because he brought this up, and this is a hot debate amongst the DSM hosts. about George's trade proposal here with my man Dylan. Where is it? So Antonio Gibson, all right, he gave up George received Antonio Gibson and T. Higgins for Javonte Williams and DK Metcalf. Good or bad trade?
That's a smash
for the man getting Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
Gibson side for sure.
Yeah, that's an easy Gibson side for me.
Gibson over the DK
Easy.
Metcalf side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, easy for me because as much as I love Javonte, he's not the starter yet. You cannot. He's just a bad investment at this point to trade Gibson, and I forget. It doesn't even matter who the second person that side was.
The trade is basically Gibson for DK Metcalf.
Right.
That is basically what the trade is.
Right,
and he also has Alvin
just that,
Kamara
though,
as a running back as well.
The gap from Higgins to
Higgins.
Metcalf is nowhere near as big as Gibson to Javonte right now, in my opinion. I mean,
Right.
if Javonte becomes the starter, then it's different. But like right now, that gap is huge, and that it's definitely worth it for Gibson.
Okay.
Yeah, and I love T. Higgins as well. I think he's the number one receiver in Cincinnati this year, ahead of Chase and Boyd. So I'm all aboard with that. I'd love that trade. That's a smash accept for me.
All right. So since we're talking about DK Metcalf, maybe I just mentally, I'm not thinking fantasy terms. I'm just thinking of DK Metcalf, the player now he torches the Eagles, last year, and torched Darius Slay last year. Where is DK Metcalf ranked for you guys in the wide receiver pantheon this year in fantasy?
8.
I'm pretty sure I have him at 11.
Okay. So still top 10-ish
fan.
range for you guys.
Yeah, back in wide receiver 1.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so let's look at the wide receivers. Give me Luke, you can go first if you want, your top 4 or 5 guys and how you rank your guys there.
So I don't have it pulled up because my computer's dead, like I mentioned.
No, it's
before we
okay.
got live. But I off the dome, I'm pretty sure it's Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay.
Mine is a mix of the same, except I have Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Calvin Ridley, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay. Yeah.
Ooh, Hill at 4. That's interesting.
Yeah, because I
don't
love
mind it. It's just interesting. I haven't seen that.
I love Stephon Diggs, and I love what he brings to the offense, and I think Hill might come a little with the touchdown regression this year. That's the only thing for me.
Okay.
So
all right,
knocks him down a little bit.
I was going to say, so there's a bunch of guys that kind of are, I don't know how to phrase it, the Julio Jones of the world. The guys that are, I don't want to say on the back end of their career, but have had injury issues or have had, things that are setting them up to, they're falling in drafts where, we had AJ Green drafted in the 15th round in the DSM draft, just as a shot in the dark thing. Who would have thought 5 years ago AJ Green would be going that late in a draft? So out of the guys like the Julio Jones, the Michael Thomases, the names that are still talented but are falling now, is there a guy people should be let's draft him 1 round sooner than everybody else?
Yeah, I have one. For me, some people don't like him. Some people do. Big Adam Thielen guy. People are all out on him from touchdown regression. I was already a big fan of his still, but the Irv Smith injury, unfortunately, does give him a boost, especially around the red zone area. He was already a huge red zone target last year. Statistically wise, I'm pretty sure he had the highest target rate in the red zone, if I'm not mistaken, or one of the highest, definitely in top 3 for sure. I remember seeing a stat like that somewhere. I really like Adam Thielen. I know he's a candidate for touchdown regression. I just think that his role in that offense is too good to pass up on in his current ADP. And I think he's a really reliable wide receiver, too, with the wide receiver 1 upside still.
Okay. Where you at, Swag?
I'm pulling this up just to make sure on the ADP, and I'm not really sure if he qualifies, but Tyler Lockett, I feel, is being drafted at his floor. He's a guy who's kind of, faded into the background a little bit for the Seahawks over the past couple of years. He always ends up inside the top 24 guys, but people don't see him that way because they see, DK Metcalf, shiny new toy. Let's play with that instead. Tyler Lockett is still one of the most consistent wide receivers in the NFL. He does everything. He is Russell Wilson's favorite target, not DK Metcalf. Remember, Tyler Lockett was targeted more than DK Metcalf. I believe it was a couple, but I still think he had 130 targets to DK's 125, somewhere in that range. But Lockett does everything, and I feel like he had a couple injuries last year. I feel like if he stays healthy, he's a bona fide top 15 guy.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. All right. So I teased it before with the tight ends. You can't win a league with your tight end unless you have Travis Kelce, in my opinion. But you can lose your league if you don't have a quality tight end, especially in PPR leagues. So we obviously all agree Kelce's number one. You got Kittle. You got some really good tight ends in the top 3 or 4. The guy that I think that's going to finish in the top 5 of tight ends, and I drafted him, I forget which round. It was like 7th or 8th round, maybe a little bit sooner than anybody else, just because I have a lot of confidence in him. I think he's going to be the breakout candidate in tight ends, and it might actually put me over the hump, and that's Logan Thomas, Washington's tight end. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on Logan Thomas. It's a guy I definitely probably drafted a round or two too early, but it's because of my confidence level in where he's going to end up this year, especially with Ryan Fitzpatrick, instead of Tyler Heineke and Alex Smith and Dwayne Haskins. If he could put up numbers like he did last year with that group, with Ryan Fitzpatrick as his quarterback, in my opinion, it's got to be better.
I agree.
Listen, I'm not projecting top 5. Sorry, I'm not projecting top 5, but I do actually like Logan Thomas a good bit. So I liked him a lot last year. Then was from March to about June, maybe mid-July, I was kind of fading him. Then I was like, wait a second. I mean, he got a contract extension. I've seen him play in preseason. He looks great. I feel like we're kind of giving him a similar version of how we treated Darren Waller before he kind of cemented his status as a true breakout last season. Where we're like, oh, they drafted wide receivers. They added more wide receivers to the team. His target share is bound to go down. There's no way he keeps this up. But I feel like maybe he's just a talented tight end and deserves his targets that he's been getting, and he's still in store for another good season. I think I have him as my tight end 8 ranked right now. I don't think he's going to crack that top 5, but I still think he's bound for another good season.
Okay.
The only problem that I can foresee with Logan Thomas is Ryan Fitzpatrick does not have a very strong history of throwing to the tight end position. It's one of the few positions he doesn't throw to. He also likes to throw to the other team a lot. That sometimes happens.
That's another whole topic right there.
But
the other team might have a higher target share than Logan Thomas.
Wow. Okay.
I do agree with Luke that the contract extension gives me a little bit of hope. I moved him up to tight end 9 in my rankings. I think that he might be the red zone guy for this team. The guy is 6'7". He's huge.
6'7"?
He's so big.
He's a very, very large man.
He's a former QB. I do like Logan Thomas a lot. I think he'll be great going into this year. I do think he's going to be the red zone guy. It's just how good you think that Washington offense is going to be and whether they're going to need to throw as much as they did last year, because Ryan Fitzpatrick is definitely going to want to throw. How much is he going to throw to the tight end?
All right. So again, everybody, thank you all for tuning in. We're live here on DSM Media. This is Trending for 4 Quarters. We're doing our fantasy football show kickoff here. We got the Swagman. We got the Sawhook man right down here. Questions, keep them coming. The comments, they're great so far, everybody. Again, keep sharing. We got more content to get into. Just want to make sure everybody's, dropping those questions, because we'll stop. We're answering George, Jason, Ginty, everybody's questions. We're answering them live here on the air. So the question is, guys, give me your most overrated or overdrafted player so far when you're looking at all the ADPs and stuff like that. Who's going too soon, or who's going to be the most overrated guy from this season's draft?
Got one for you.
You're ready. I saw you shaking your head. I knew you were ready to go with this question.
Absolutely. It's really unfortunate because I was beating the drum for this guy all May, June, even a little bit into July. But man, Dallas Goedert is going to really disappoint people at his current ADP.
I agree.
He is screwed.
You can save that for the Eagles topic.
Absolutely. Sorry. But I really, really like Dallas Goedert as a player. He's a stud. But Zach Ertz being there just completely kills the vibe, 100%. There's a world where Zach Ertz outscores Dallas Goedert, and people are not ready for that. It's brutal. I think his dynasty value is tanking as well, because that quote came out today saying that Zach Ertz is totally happy in Philadelphia now, and everyone's apologized, and he's apologized, and I think he said, quote, I'm the happiest I've ever been or something. So, Goddard is screwed for a couple more seasons at a minimum. And, his ADP is way too high right now. It's really, really bad.
All right. Swag, where are you at on overdrafted players right now?
I'm going to give you 3 for the price of 1. I'm going to give you the entire San Francisco 49ers trio of pass catching options. Debo Samuel, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk are all being grossly
you think Deebo's too
overdrafted.
expensive?
I mean, yeah, I think their entire offense is overvalued just because of the fact that even with Jimmy Garoppolo, who doesn't throw the ball a lot, you're going to go to Trey Lance at some point in the season, who is not ready for the NFL just yet. He needs to sit for a full season, but as we've seen in the NFL, rookies don't sit anymore. This isn't the early
I don't think he needs to
2000s.
sit
They
for
play.
a full season.
Ooh,
He's not that bad. I mean,
you guys are
he
so
looked
great at like
decent in
segueing into other topics and stuff like that.
I think I personally think that Lance just isn't ready, and I've been saying this all off season. He shows so much raw potential.
I mean, he has the tools to be fantastic, and he showed flashes in preseason. And I do agree, he didn't look great. He didn't look fantastic in preseason, but he did look like come week 8, I'm sure he'll see the field. Guaranteed.
Well, here's my worry with that offense. My worry is that Lance is too dependent on the running to start, and that his accuracy does not shape up in time to make the pass catching unit in San Francisco worth it at ADP. I'm especially out on Brandon Ayuk. I have been all offseason. I have him ranked as my wide receiver 38. I think he's off the board at wide receiver 22 right now. George Kittle is my 4th ranked tight end behind Kyle Pitts.
Wait, Ayuk's that high? Can you look that up? Somebody,
I'm on Fantasy
22?
Pros. I'm on Fantasy Pros. Yep. I'm on. I am on Fantasy Pros and looking.
George is asking, is Pitts being undervalued right now?
I don't think he is. I'm just extraordinarily high on Kyle Pitts. I think he immediately is Julio Jones light in this offense. Okay. I think he steps right into that role.
Tight end ranking, Sam.
Tight end 3.
Wow.
You are on bath salts, my friends, but it's admirable.
I struggle to rank any rookie in any position that high in their rookie year.
I think Kyle Pitts is just special.
5.
Yeah. He's special.
Sorry, 6. He's my tight end 6.
See, I know I'm way outside of the consensus on Kyle Pitts.
That's what's so great about fantasy football. Everybody has their own opinions. And
absolutely.
We're all right until we're wrong.
Let me make my case against him, and then Sam can make the case for him. So for me, it's not. He has such a wide range of outcomes that it's a terrifying draft pick, especially at where. Yeah. Sure, Jason, I agree. He probably is a generational prospect. He's going to be fantastic. He's going to have a great career. But this is his rookie season, and I'm not prepared to draft him over guys with a guaranteed workload like Mark Andrews, T.J. Hawkinson, Kittle, Waller, and Kelsey. I mean, the round ADP I think is like round 4 or 5. You can get elite wide receivers and running backs in that range. So you can get James Robinson, who's a top 15 running back this season, or you can get Kyle Pitts. I just don't. It's too risky for me that high. I'd rather wait or get.
I missed
Kittle,
this question
Waller,
a few minutes ago. You bring up Hawkinson, so you have Hawkinson ahead of Kyle Pitts. Jason wanted to know where you guys have him ranked.
So I have Hawkinson at 5 or 6.
I'm a tight end 5.
He burned me last year. He wasn't as good as where I drafted him last year. So
he's at 6 for me.
I really like Hawkinson though. He's going to be a PPR machine. Sorry, Sam. Go ahead.
No, I agree. He's going to be the best option in a very bad Detroit Lions offense. That's what turns me off, though, is that offense is going to be so inefficient. How often are they going to get to the red zone? How often are they going to be able to push the ball down the field? That's the main question there. There's no question whether he's going to get the targets. There's no question he's going to get the targets.
He's going to get peppered with targets. He's going to get peppered.
Yep.
Hawkinson,
but enough to outscore Mark. But enough to outscore Mark Andrews. That's the problem. See, we have the same rankings except
behind him.
Exactly, because you have Pitts at 6 while I have him at 3, so I move everyone down a spot while you move everyone up a spot, but we have the same ideas otherwise.
Do you have Kittle under Pitts?
4.
You are on bath salts, but I love it. Go ahead, Sam. Do your thing, man.
Bath salts. That's like 3 times the words bath salts have been brought up tonight. I don't think it's ever been brought up in 18 months of doing shows, but it's been mentioned like 3 times this show.
Hey, I'm certainly in the right area. I'm certainly in the right area, Miami, baby. But I want to make my argument against Pitts because I have been I feel like I've been one of the more fervent guys. A really great guy to ask about Kyle Pitts is my boy Bo McBrayer, Bo McBig Time. He's Pitts obsessed. He took him at 210 in Scott Fishbowl, and he loves him.
Ridiculous.
He only did it because we're in the same division, and I told him I would take Pitts at 301.
Listen,
There's another piece of fantasy advice. Never tell your draft mates where you're taking somebody because they are going to steal that player from you.
Absolutely, but it worked the way I wanted. I got the guy I wanted.
I like Kyle Pitts a lot. He's super talented in a great situation for a lot of vacated targets. But the thing is, two things. Rookie tight ends never really do it. I hate being the guy who looks to the past. I'm all about changing the norms of fantasy. I think Kyle Pitts is like a great tight end wide receiver hybrid, so I can see him having a great season. But at the same time, Sam, for your ranking, I feel like even if he lives up to the hype and has an exceptional rookie year, George Kittle, Darren Waller, and Kelsey all could easily outscore the man.
I agree. My ranking is mostly based on the fact that I don't believe Kittle is going to get the necessary work in that offense with all those other mouths to feed. But I'm not a Kittle guy. I haven't been for some years. So there's a little bit of bias baked into it. But the real reason I love Pitt so much is just because he's a generational prospect. We've never seen someone like him at the tight end position. He's literally a wide receiver in the tight end body. He's running a 4.49. He's got an 84-inch wingspan. That's the biggest and longest in the NFL. Yes, it is 11th or 12th round.
Earlier than that for me.
It's just where I've been seeing. It's just where I've been seeing him go. I guess it depends on your league size. Yeah. For Jake Mount is asking, what is Scott Fishbowl for us casuals? Scott Fishbowl is a charity league that goes every year by one of the great people in the fantasy industry, Legends. Scott Fish. He is the original creator of Devy, which if you don't know what that is, it is the mix of college players, drafting them in your fantasy football leagues and keeping them on your roster until they get to the pros. But Scott Fish puts on this gigantic charity league every year. He's been doing it for, I believe, 11 or 12 years now. It's grown every year. This year it was 2,180 people. It's a 12-team super flex league. Everybody plays, and you all compete to get the highest scores. And then once you get to the playoffs, the different divisional winners play each other, and then you get deeper, the conference winners play each other, and at the end you have one group of 12 conference winners come together to see who gets crowned Scott Fishbowl by
the scorings are all wonky too, which is super interesting. Like QBs, I think interceptions are -4 points and completions are -1 point. Completions are plus half a point. You can flex kicker spots. There's 4 flexes. It's crazy.
Third round reversal. It is. This was my first year playing. It was my first year in the fantasy industry. I absolutely loved it. Had a blast. Lifelong friendships have been made. I'm part of a group that was made out of a Scott Fishbowl pick chat. All the picks have their own chats that people organize. The conferences, of course, have their own divisional chats. It's a blast. Celebrities play. You get guys, Matthew Berry's in there, Mike Clay is in there, Field Yates is in there, Stephania Bell. You have guys from CBS Sports. You have guys from everywhere. Celebrities play. In the REM division, it was bands this year was the theme. And Mike Matz, I think the drummer from REM is in there. You have
cool as hell.
Celebrities.
I have to get in this next year.
Absolutely. It is a absolute blast. And Scott is one of the nicest guys out there. He is the nicest guy in the fantasy community.
If you don't follow him on Twitter already, make sure you follow him. He's an amazing follow. And he'll follow you back if you are showing up with him. He's an amazing dude. Puts out awesome content. Great follow for sure.
His at ScottFish24. That is his Twitter handle. But
I wasn't prepared to pump up this fishbowl there. Sorry.
Yeah, no. The fishbowl is great. It is a great thing, but I forgot what we were talking about. I think I was finishing up my Kyle Pitts spiel, but
let's forget about it. Kyle Pitts, you're smoking bath salts right now, so we're moving on from
literally on.
But it's again, like I said, you guys keep transitioning for me really well because the next topic was going to be rookies. Kyle Pitts is a rookie. Obviously, we know who your favorite rookie is there. Swagman. Rookie quarterbacks or even the non-rookie quarterbacks, the other positions. If you guys had to draft a rookie early, obviously we know Swagman's drafted Kyle Pitts, early in a draft. What rookies are we looking at that can have an immediate fantasy impact week 1 or 2 of the football season?
I got one for you that I really like. So Najee Harris is my boy. Love
Yeah.
him, but I'm gonna go off him. I already talked about him earlier. Love Najee Harris. My RB8. A wide receiver though, his ADP is way too low on at least on Yahoo. I did a Yahoo draft the other day with the guys from FTN Network. Destroyed that draft, by the way. Amazing team.
I heard about that draft.
Later.
When
I
other
heard
people
about
hear
that
about it,
draft.
that means you
It
did a
was a
great
super
job.
I talked to D-Bro about that draft.
Dude, I crushed it. It was a super flex league, and I got Josh Allen and Kyler Murray in rounds 1 and 2. It's absolutely nasty. That team is gross. I also got Kittle.
Crazy.
But anyway, so the wide receiver I actually have on that team that I got super late because I barely had any wide receivers early on. Devonta Smith. Love Devonta Smith. I know you probably want to say this for the Eagle segment later. We'll get to him though.
This is great because we're already at 45 minutes, and I got 50 more topics to break into, so we can throw Eagles right into this here.
Yeah, love Devonta Smith though. He's so good. I mean, coming out of college, he's my wide receiver 2.
Wide receiver 1.
Jamar still. Love him. I think he's a wide receiver 2 this season. I don't think there's a world where he finishes outside the top 30-ish. I think he has wide receiver 1 upside, legitimately. He's a wide receiver 1 on his team. He's going to get a massive target share. Hurts might not be the best passing quarterback in the world, but, I mean, Smith is an elite route runner. I think he's an elite wide receiver prospect, and he's going to be super, super good. Literally, the only thing holding him back is injury. If he can stay healthy, the kid's a superstar. Guarantee it. He's awesome, and his ADP is way too low. I
think he will be, whether it's fantasy or just professionally, the number 1 wide receiver that comes out of this draft class, period. I have him ranked. I had him before the draft ranked as the number 1 wide receiver in this draft class. So you guys don't, watch Eagles shows often. I'm a defensive minded guy. I want defense every first round of every draft, but I knew the Eagles don't draft defense. I'm like, all right, if they're not drafting defense, whether they're at 6, 10, 12, wherever they picked, I wanted Devonta Smith with that pick because I just see so much elite talent with Devonta Smith.
I remember I cried in the bar when they drafted him. I was so happy. Yes, tears of joy.
Oh man.
Well, I'm surprised you guys haven't seen me I've stopped lately, but I mean that before we drafted him and even after, I was on Devonta Smith, man. I have been cheering for this guy since December when he caught that one-handed pass against LSU in the end zone there. That's always been my guy. I wanted to save him for the Eagle segment. I'm glad Luke stole him about me so I could say how much I love Devonta Smith. He's my wide receiver 22 this year. So, Luke and I are, in lockstep on that one. But the guy I want to bring up for my rookie is Javonte Williams, because Javonte Williams is truly going to be that guy in Denver. And I don't think it's going to take them shipping Melvin Gordon out of town for him to be that guy. I think he bullies him out of that role by week 4 or 5. So I
disagree. I think it's going to be like week 10.
Okay, I can understand that. I see a scenario where Javonte gets enough work early on and shows out enough where they are forced into a Melvin Gordon trade. I fully believe that last week's preseason game where Javonte was a healthy scratch, if that doesn't scream that they want to feature him for big work, I don't know what does. I think that was a showcase game to get some offers for. Yeah, he was the starter all the way through.
Oh, interesting.
So, I think that he's going to be the guy going forward, and I have him ranked as my RB25 this year. He's got legitimate RB1 upside.
Wow,
maybe not this year, but next year. Yes, because I'm anticipating that he's gonna be the starter very quickly.
No, I understand. I think he's going to be a league winner if he gets the full workload at the end. Yep. But yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough to rank players like that,
Yeah, and also what Teddy Bridgewater said about him really sticks. I don't know if you saw. I think it came out today. Jason's talking about it in the chat right now. Teddy Bridgewater came right out and said he's got some Kamara in him. He's got. I believe he also mentioned Dalvin in him because he's played with both of them. So I definitely think that Javonte is going to be the guy. I also lean Saquon. I think Javonte is going to be the guy.
We're 3 for 3 on a question right there.
He's got sneaky pass catching ability that does not get talked about enough, but he is literally Nick Chubb light. He's going to be so good.
Actually, I was going to move on to the Eagles, but I want to bring up, because there was a comment very early in this show. Let me see if I can find it. It had something to do with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
I think someone said they could be
comments on
sleepers.
this show. I can't find the question now.
I think someone said they could be sleepers, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Has there ever been a running back tandem that both guys have some fantasy value? I mean, yes, Nick Chubb, in my opinion, is a first-round running back. Kareem Hunt still has massive fantasy value, in my opinion. I think it's a great 1-2 punch, and you can get some value out of both guys there.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think the value would be a lot better if they were both separated. They're both RB1s without
Absolutely.
the other, but I definitely think they're both good. I'm personally staying away from Hunt in those middle rounds. I think there's guys with a little bit more upside than him, guys like Gaskin in that middle round that can be more of PPR monsters than Kareem Hunt is going to be. But if either gets hurt, the other's an RB1, and we saw that last year when Nick Chubb went down.
Okay. Do you agree on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, let's move on here. 2 more segments of this show here. I've already taken up almost an hour of your time, guys. We got to talk Eagles first, and then we're going to get into the DSM Media Draft. Eagles players, we've obviously already talked about Devontae Smith and his fantasy relevance. Luke, believing that Zach Goddard, Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz, that Dallas Goedert's value is dropping as Zach Ertz seems to stick with the team, even though George will say that he's still going to move from this team. He's still here at this moment. So you kind of have to take that fantasy-wise into perspective. What players have the best fantasy value on the Eagles outside of Devontae Smith? I think Jalen Hurts has some fantasy value as a quarterback. And Devontae Smith and Miles Sanders has some value still, even with his issues pass catching. Where are we ranking Eagles players overall in the fantasy impact and value they have?
Like value as opposed to ADP?
Yeah, like that. Like, should they be drafted in certain points? Are they being overvalued and overdrafted? Are they being slept on?
I actually think that pretty much every single starting position for the Eagles outside of tight end is a value. Sanders is a value as your RB3 in most leagues where I'm drafting. Hurts is a major value. Smith is a major value. Rager is damn near free, but the tight ends are gross. So, that's where I stand. I like all of them.
Okay.
I'm pretty much with Luke here. I think it's important to touch on how much of a value Jalen Hurts has been ever since the Watson rumors started cropping up about a month ago. His value has literally dropped like a stone. I believe he's going off as like QB 11 or 12 now. If Jalen Hurts plays every single game this season, I don't think there's a realm of possibility where he finishes outside of the top 10. I will answer that in a second. I don't
because
see.
He's telling you whether he's going to be a fan of you or not here.
Jake, 100 Thieves is my favorite esports organization, if that says anything. So,
Jalen Hurts is just a stone value. I mean, he's my QB. He's flitted in between the 6 to 8 rankings, but he has top 5. He has QB1 overall upside if he has a really good season and he plays every single game, simply because of the rushing aspect. He might be the second guy besides Lamar to rush for 1,000 yards this season. So, it is well within his realm of outcomes to do that. I will address the Thieves shirt. This is not a 100 Thieves shirt. This is a fantasy football collective that me and a group of my friends have started called The Thieves. It is born out of a group chat that we have that is filled with a bunch of content creators from around the fantasy community, and we basically just build each other up, support each other, and we kind of just decided to bring a t-shirt out of it. So,
all right. So let's move on. I agree with you guys on Jalen Hurts, 100%, and Devontae Smith, even Miles Sanders, if you can get him as a running back 3. I've seen some leagues where he's going as like a late running back 2, which I think is, questionable, but I'm going to use. So when I look at fantasy quarterbacks, if I'm not getting Mahomes or, one of those top guys, Lamar Jackson is always someone that stands out to me because of his rushing ability, obviously. But then when I plan my drafts out, I'm like, well, if I can't get Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts is a good option if you can wait later in the draft to get him at the right point. Because if you like Lamar Jackson, you obviously have to like Jalen Hurts as well. Same thing. So let's look at this draft. This is the DSM Media Draft. I sent you guys 2 teams, before the show. We were supposed to be joined by Jason Sullivan. He's my fantasy golf co-host on Fairway to Heaven. We're also doing a fantasy football show starting next week called DFS, no punt intended. He had some family things come up. He couldn't join us tonight. So 2 of the teams were mine and his. Since George has been commenting, George is a loyal fan. He's in the league as well. But I'm going to show you guys some teams here. And I want grades on these teams, okay? So I'm going to pop this up on the stream for the viewers here. If you guys could see this, this is one of the teams right here. Okay,
that's your draft order.
Yeah, this is one team's draft. Okay, this is obviously who picked number 1 overall. You got Christian McCaffrey. He took CEH, AG Brown. Good. So you guys see this right here, based off of what we've talked about tonight. I'm sure you can guess whose team this is. But this is team 1 here. Okay. What kind of a grade would you give this draft? Especially the first half of the draft, because, obviously drafting 1 overall, you got to wait a long time to get your second pick. So, you're really at the whim of everybody else in this 12-team PPR league here.
I'll give it an A-.
A-. I like that. Swag?
Yeah, I was also going to go with an in between A- and B+. I love the Terrace Marshall pick at the end, especially after they released David Moore today.
And just a shadow here, the JJ Ortega-Whiteside pick. This is obviously my team. Talking about Logan Thomas and Lamar Jackson nonstop. That was just a joke between me and George, because me and George are big JJ fans, and we're the only 2 people in all of Philadelphia that thought he would make the 53-man roster. So I just made that pick out of complete spite to everybody else, because your 16th pick can be dropped pretty easily. So
absolutely.
So A- B+, I think that's a fair description. I was the way the first 5 to 7 rounds went for me, I was extremely, extremely excited. When I got to the Melvin Gordon pick, Jamal Williams, Justin Fields, I mean, they're not really big for me. I just, I kind of got stuck at certain spots there, but that's where I was there. Let's bring up George. I wasn't going to bring up George. You guys are seeing George's team for the first time here. And we brought this up because he traded DK Metcalf for Antonio Gibson. This is George's team. He took Kamara at 5. He had Metcalf, Keenan Allen, Javonte Williams, Pitts. He got Pitts at 53. Damian Harris, Boyd. It goes on. He's a Lance guy. So he's got Lance as his one of his 2 quarterbacks there. I think his quarterback is an issue right now for George.
This is a C+ at best.
Oh,
in my
man.
opinion.
Even taking into account that Metcalf is not there and Gibson is there now.
Well, I mean,
because he made that trade post-draft. Yeah.
This draft is a C+.
Okay.
Not great.
Yeah, I would give it a B-. I'm gonna bump it up to a B with the Gibson trade.
Okay.
Worry a little bit about his wide receiver depth. It's a lot of running backs for what I assume is a two running back league.
2 running back, really 2 wide receiver, 1 flex PPR league.
Yeah, you do not need that much. Yeah, but otherwise, I think it's fine. Great value on Kamara dropping to 5.
Yeah,
I'll give it a B.
All right, that's very.
Don't love drafting 2 tight ends. Don't like the quarterbacks at all.
Yeah, I'm really off on their quarterback situation.
He's traded.
Yeah.
Javonte is the RB2. I mean, granted, there's a trade, or was he the RB1? Sorry, who was his first pick?
Kamara was his first pick.
It's his RB3 now.
Yeah, so now with the trade, Williams is RB3. But when he drafted him,
it's not as bad anymore. Not as bad anymore, but quarterback is a big issue for me.
Yeah,
I
do worry.
Starting Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is for me too. And you draft Trey Lance with the idea that he's going to sit, and you have Fitzpatrick to go in there. But at the end of the day, you don't know how long Fitzpatrick's going to start, and you don't know how good Trey Lance is going to look when he comes in. So that's a big issue for me too.
All right, final team. This is Jason's team, who's my fantasy football go-to guy. We host multiple shows, like I said. He knows way more about fantasy football and golf than I do. I'm just lucky to be able to host a show with him regularly.
Reach on David Montgomery, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is a big David Montgomery reach.
That is, so we got Dalvin Cook, Montgomery, McLaurin, Mike Davis, Ayuk. For a guy that I think is a great fantasy football guy, I like to give him ribs that this is not a great draft in my opinion.
Yeah, he gets a little
what
bit.
saves it? Gus Edwards saves it.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say as well.
Was Dobbins ruled out already on
Sunday?
Sunday?
When was the draft?
The draft was Sunday.
Sunday?
Dobbins,
no, he was.
It wasn't official that Dobbins was out on Sunday.
Right. He gets good value on Edwards there. Carter could turn out to be something, but again, we don't know. So that's a little bit of a reach there in the 8th round for me. Ayuk is a big reach at 5 at 50 for me.
Yeah.
This is a B+ for me.
Take that, Jason. Get out of here.
I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna give him a B-. I think you could have used. I think you could have just rolled with Joe Burrow and got someone else other than Rodgers as well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with a B- here.
Yeah, I mean, out of the 3 we've seen here, I'm going to obviously say my team, the first one we looked at, is the best, just because I'm me. But honestly, I think picking one or even 2, as Jason did here, I think those picks in a 12-team league are really tough because you're waiting for everybody else. You just don't know what's going to come back around for your second pick. And then we're going to try to find. I'm going to zoom this out for a second. I got to find Scotty's to show you guys his auto draft here. That you never auto draft a team. Let's see if we can find the G Squad here somewhere, and just see what There we are, Scotty's team right here.
God.
All right, this is what you get with the 12th pick with an auto draft right here, guys. You get Jonathan Taylor. You get Aaron Jones.
Yeah, this is.
Bad.
Yeah, you led me to believe that this was much worse than it looks.
But
Taylor and Jones.
He took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wide receivers in a row.
It doesn't matter. He can trade. He can trade CeeDee Lamb and pick up. He can trade CeeDee Lamb and pick up someone else, and I would be completely fine with him starting the rest of the wide receivers he has. He gets a nice flex option possibly later in David Johnson. Evan Engram is obviously injured. We don't know how long he's going to be out.
He has dropped
Irv
Evan
Smith,
Engram.
same.
I don't remember for who, but he did drop Evan Engram.
Well, also has an issue with Irv Smith. Yeah, this is a B for me as well. Even with Tua, who I'm not the highest on, he gets good value across the board there. Antonio Brown is a sleeper, major sleeper for me.
I do like Antonio Brown. I'm a big Antonio Brown fan. So yeah.
So
even though he took 100 wide receivers in a row, you guys both like. I'm blown away by you guys saying that.
I think this draft is a lot better than it looks at first glance.
Okay. All right. Wow. All right. Well, this has been very educational, guys. I've probably missed a whole bunch of comments here as we were doing that share screen. Gint saying that was a bomb squad. Yeah, no, I don't know about that. He wants me to show the bomb squad. I already closed that out. I guess that would have been Gint's team. Sorry, Gint. I already closed it out there. My bad. Yeah, you're still not winning. My team is winning this league. It's no doubt about it. Yeah. Anyway, again, this is Trending for 4 Quarters. This is the Fantasy Football Super Show with Luke Sawhook, Sam Wagman. Guys, this has been a blast, man. Any parting thoughts on this upcoming football season before we wrap this up and break pens or pencils or whatever else?
Go Eagles.
Plastic knife. My last thought is that Sam still should be tested for bath salt.
God, the haters. I am nourished by your hatred. I am nourished. Kyle Pitts will be a top 3 option this year.
Okay. All right.
I
think the Eagles are going to surprise people fantasy-wise.
I will not bet on it. I just want to pick it.
Coward.
All right.
Let's talk, Luke.
All right, Swagman, pump up what you got going on one final time for all the listeners out there.
Yep. You guys can find me over on Twitter at swagman95. All my written content over at Ball Blast Football, as well as my brand new Ball Blast Waiver show with my boy Bo McBrayer, Bo McBig Time, on every Tuesday night once the season starts. You can also find some of my other written stuff over at Football Guys, as well as my Eagles content this year over at 4th and John. Excellent.
Luke, again, shout out all the places that you're working with there and all the people you're doing great content work for.
Sure. I'll keep it short. Most of my content will all be on my Twitter. It's kind of like a hub for my stuff. And then if you just follow Dynasty Nerds, FTN Network, or Prediction Strike Twitters, that's your boy pulling the levers. So I'll see you guys around.
Excellent. Hey, thank you both so much for coming on the show tonight. This has been a blast. Very educational as well. I mean, I think of myself as a fantasy football guy that I know my stuff, but you guys take it to a whole new level. So I appreciate that. And stay tuned because myself and Jason Sullivan, Jay Sully, 2121 again, had to take care of some things tonight. Couldn't join the show, but we got our all new DFS show. DFS, no punt intended, next Thursday, 9 p.m. starting. We're just going to cover DraftKings, all the different stacks and all that kind of stuff. Just basically our fantasy golf show. Switching over to fantasy football for football season, and we'll get right back into golf season when January rolls around. So make sure you check that out next week. Everything's right here on DSM Media. Make sure you're following on Facebook, Twitter, subscribing on YouTube. To the moon is what we like to say with DSM Media. Do something major. That's what we're doing. So make sure everybody's following along. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for all the great comments, questions, and thoughts this year. We'll be back next week with our Trending for 4 Quarters Eagles kickoff show. I've got Joe Castro, JCE. I got so many guests lined up for the Eagles kickoff show. You're going to want to not miss it. It's going to be fantastic. Make sure y'all tune in. I end everything with Go Birds normally, but would be a good fantasy term to say peace out on.
Go Najee Harris.
Go Najee Harris. Don't draft Kyle Pitts so early.
Go Antonio Gibson.
There we go. Hey,
Don't draft
everybody
Kyle
have a great
Pitts.
night. We'll see you next week.